Hello, everybody, and welcome to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie. We are here today because it is May. It is May. It is May. And May is for moms. I am super excited about the conversation we're going to have today. It'll probably get a little spiritual and a whole bunch of biblical, but at the same time, let's talk about what it means to be a mom. Who can be a mom? Today, we won't talk about who shouldn't be a mom, but it just may come up in all of the things related to what moms mean to us and what mothering means to us. There's also this topic related to smothering, where moms can be the most, do the most, and too much. Today, we are joined by our guest, Katrina Saunders Smith, the Reverend, and then also Reverend Deborah Bell. Katrina Smith is a life coach and educator, and Reverend Deborah Bell is a health and wellness coach. Hey, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
How is it going? Let me tell you, when we think about this month of May, and I tell you, moms get it better than dads. I'm just going to put it out there. People already know mom gets the gift, she gets the dinner, she gets the birthday, she gets everything related to mom. It's like a whole entire celebration. The presence of a woman, the mom figure. Deborah, share with us about that for a little bit, in the sense of, it's a mother, it's an aunt, it's a cousin, it's a mother figure. What is, and you're a mom yourself, so talk to us a little bit about mom.
There has always been something very special about mothers. I believe that for me, in my own experience, my mother died when I was 6 years old. And so I was always an advocate for my girlfriends when they had trouble with their mothers, to say, look, you only get one. And I hear ringing in my ear that song, I Always Love My Mama. She's my favorite girl. And I think the thing is that mothers have such a special place in the life and position of a family, whatever that family structure may be, whether she's a single mom or whether she is a mom of a blended family, whether she is a mom married a second time. I mean, mothers rule the roost. Mm-hmm. If she sets the tone for the family, if things are going to go well for everyone, mom is in place to make sure everyone has what they need. I was reading this quote by Dorothy Canfield Fisher. She's a social activist, author, 20th century social promoter. And so she says that mother, that word mother, is a verb. It is not just who you are, it's what you do. And I think that's the thing that carries so much weight for mothers. It is all about what they do. They make everything better, right? When you're down, you can always, it just feels good to have the voice or the comfort of your mom. When you're going through happy times, the joy seems even better when your mom is there to celebrate, or you think of her at that time of celebration. Mom sets the tone. And so it means so much for all of us when we have that mother figure in our life. because she's the one. She is the one that will bring it all together for us. Whether that's a conversation that we need to have that we haven't had with ourselves, whether that's advice on things we need to do, whatever the case may be. If it's a conflict that we're trying to manage, man, the voice of our mom is always so much more special in those times, and she makes it all better. Mother, that word is a verb for sure.
I love that. And I agree that mother is a verb. And Katrina Smith, you've been a mom to many, in your role and the work that you play. How do you see that as, the way in which, I won't say people should go, but sometimes people are just tossed into motherhood?
Being a mother, unconditional love is what I would say. That is the purest form of love that happens between a mother and a child. And so even though some people may be thrust into it because of different situations, it is an opportunity for you to show unconditional love to someone. Women by nature are nurturers. We want to take care of everybody. We want to look after everybody. We typically want everybody to do well. And so being a mother allows us that opportunity to oversee, to guide, and to realize that we've been entrusted to take care of someone. It's one of the greatest gifts ever given to us is to be a mother. And there are some who may not be able to birth a child, but they're able to take care of a child. And it still is the greatest gift that you have because you're able to shepherd a child into adulthood. You're able to provide that guidance, that wisdom, that structure, that unconditional love that every child needs when you think about being a mother. I think about even on our jobs as an educator, sometimes you're the mother at your job. You have to take care of people at work. You take care of the kids at work. You have to make sure little faces are smiling and shining. You may have coworkers who may feel like you're the mother to them, that they can come to for counsel or just the listening ear. So there are opportunities all along the way, whether you give birth or not, to use that nurturing skill to be a mother.
I love what both of you said because mom is a verb. It comes with unconditional love. Why do you think that women seek out other women to be like their mother figures? I hear people say, oh, that's like my aunt mom, or, that's my mother's best friend, but she's like a mom to me. Or because moms in our village, in our culture, in our community, come to us in a variety of different ways. Can you think of some qualities, ladies, of women that draw other women to them to kind of put them in that mother light, if you will?
That's a really good question and observation about how mothering happens. I have a couple of examples. First, I'll start with my own aunt who raised me after my mother passed away. She already had 3 kids who were on their way to college, right? And she starts over with a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. She was so very protective of us coming into that household, how she managed us, how we were raised, and the influences in our lives. She is the person who literally I feel made me who I am. I love her tenacity, her never give up spirit, that quality to be able to figure it out, no matter how sparse the resources were. She was always able to make lemonade out of lemons. So my Aunt Pearl, she's now getting ready to celebrate her 90th birthday. And I talked with her the other day, and she has dementia, but she's still real sharp. Because instead of letting me know she didn't know who I was, she said, whose voice is this? Which helped me to know, okay, today's not quite a good day for her, but she's still in the game. She's still willing to push forward, and she's still making lemon out of lemonade. Another experience, lemonade out of lemons. Another experience, I had the opportunity to work on a college campus, and I didn't know how well the group of students would respond to me. I was accustomed to working with adults and had not worked with that demographic for a long while. And so I was very tentative. It was a Christian college, and I had to develop a discipleship group. I had to choose the girls who came across my path to pull into this group. If I tell you, it has been 5 years since I've worked in that environment, and almost all of those young ladies that I've worked with have continued to maintain the relationship. They will call me when there's struggles going on in their lives. They'll call me for celebrations that they're experiencing, and they'll call just to check on me. And so that mothering quality showed up in how I was able to work with those girls. Now, Jacquie mentioned that I'm also from a blended family. In my marriage, there were 2 younger children that I took on as a part of the marriage before I had my own son. And today, those 2 adults still call me mom. They still call and ask for advice. They still call just to be comforted when they're going through struggles. They may not need an answer. They just want to hear the voice of their bonus mom. It's what I call myself in their lives. It is so special to me to hear them say, "You treated me like your own." And even to hear their mother and grandmother say the same. You made no difference between them, and you treated them like they were your own. And I think that's one of the qualities that mothers have. I didn't think I had it. I did not think I had that quality, but it showed up even as I managed that blended family experience, and it's still showing up. So the qualities of a mom, being able to listen without judging, but also to give firm advice, to be present with the child, with the cousin, with the young person, and just to show that unconditional love. I think those are all great qualities that show up as we mother.
When we come back after the break, we're going to be joined by Reverend Katrina Smith, because girl, I got some questions for you. We'll be back after the break.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just 2 millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And as you can tell, being a mom, sometimes it just falls right into your lap. People see things in you, a character, a quality, an availability, because some moms are just absent from lives, and children, young adults are looking for someone that they can talk to, because literally by definition, a mom is a female parent. Katrina, let's talk a little bit about parenting and what that looks like from the mother's perspective. Because as you stated earlier, mom can come in a variety of different forms, and there are a multitude of needs that individuals have. My first question to you is, how does it feel when people see you as their mother figure and they're not your born children? Because I know for a lot of people, they run away, from that accountability and responsibility. But you, like many other women, just seem to take it on full throttle and say, "What you need, little one, I got you."
I see it as a compliment. I had women in my life, my mother, my grandmother, we have the aunties that everybody likes to use now, auntie. And I count it as a privilege and a joy when someone says auntie to me, because that lets me know they recognize me and they respect me. They respect the words that I'm going to impart to them, and they are willing to listen to the little bit of wisdom I may have to share with them. Um, I don't take it lightly. I love working with children, and I came up in a different time frame. You know, Children are to be seen and not to be heard. And so mothers really imparted how you do and how you act, right? How you carry yourself. Um, I think about the previous question you asked about what characteristics do we think about? And it brought to my mind the fruits of the spirit. I, w- a mother should have some joy, but also have some peace. They ought to have some patience, right? Because kids can try you. I have a little saying, nothing tries you like your child. Your child will try your inner gangster, but you got to know how to work it out. You have to have kindness. You have to have goodness, gentleness. You have to be, faithful at all times. So when someone says to me, oh, that's my auntie, it's all right. That's all right. I embrace it because I hope that they see all those qualities in me and they're listening and they're watching how I move and what I do so that they can carry themselves in a respectable manner. I have a few children by birth, 3, but have I raised a lot? Many. And I trust that everything I say, that they take it and they reflect on it and then they act on it. I'm there to help and support and to be a guide. So yes, when we think about that mothering and how we're respected, we're gonna shout out the mothers, the aunties, and everyone who has a part. There are a lot of children being raised by grandmothers right now who have a lot of wisdom. And we need to uphold all of these women because these women help shape the course of our future. And so it is a pleasure and an honor for someone to recognize me in that light.
Being recognized in that light, and I'm asking, and we bring Deborah in too, because, you know, I hate to say this, but there are times when children see other children referring to you as mom or auntie, and they hugging on you and this, that, and the other. And I always got the sense that kids feel some type of way, like that's not your mom, And so how do you manage that? Because the parent is like, oh my God, you're so sweet. And then they're like, honey, it's okay. They're not coming home with us. And so how do you balance the kids that are not your own and the love that you show them and keeping the other children either in the house or on the playground, wherever you find them, saying, this isn't taking anything away from you being my child, because I've watched lots of rifts happen in families because children, let's go with this, adults, when they get older or teenagers, they say, well, you spend a lot of time with such and such and they're not even your kids. It's like, how do we help our audience deal with all of the backlash from being so mothering and loving and showing all the things that kids really need? Because Maslow's hierarchy says that we want safety and security first. We want that first. And so, Deborah, how do we help them manage and balance those types of rifts that could happen in the home?
Let me start with the conversation that I recently had with my bonus daughter. So she said to me, she was having conversations with her bonus daughter, right? And she was so thankful for the way that I managed her growing up years. She was in Pampers when she first came into my life. And now she's married and has her own children and stepchildren. And so she said to me, I'm so glad that you set the example for me on how to manage this situation in my own life. She said, I am able to welcome in my stepkids and we don't use the word step, but for the sake of this conversation, I'm able to welcome them in and nurture them just as if they were my own. Now, let me tell you, that process did not start off all flowers and roses. Actually, I had to have a conversation with the mothers of my two-step kids, two different mothers, to say to them, I'm not going to hurt your child. I'm going to treat them like they're mine because they are his. I will make sure that you get your child support. And after that very candid conversation with both mothers, they were more open to my guidance and leadership in their child's life. They were more comfortable when the children were left with us over the summer breaks and those kinds of things. So I think communication is very important. My stepkids, well, let me talk about my biological son. So my house was the house where all of his friends gathered. So he was a central focus for his friends. And I was very glad that they all wanted to come to our home, because then I could see what they were involved in and what was really going on and hear some conversations, right? That's very important. And in those times, he didn't have a problem with his friends being around and receiving what he received. In fact, he promoted it. He would be like, man, you need to spend the night because my mom cooks breakfast every day. And on Saturdays, there are pancakes and she doesn't use a box mix. So he was very excited about having those others, his friends, come into our environment. But again, I think it really boils down to how the mother manages those situations. I read another quote, and what it said was that a mother could have 10 children and all 10 of them feel like they receive all her love. And so it really hinges on how moms manages the situation.
Absolutely, Katrina.
So I agree totally. Having 3 children, every child has a different experience with me. Managing and carving out time for each child is so important and critical. But also something Deborah said is having that communication, making sure you're communicating with your own child, that there's enough love to go around, and that some children need that extra bit of love, and mom is going to show it to them. I love what Deborah said about, the house being the central focus. There were always kids over, and I had a very unique situation where I had girlfriends that had children the same age. And so we crafted a time that one weekend they all go to Susie, let's say, its house to play. The next weekend they all be at my house. What that did was is it allowed Susie and her husband to have a Saturday where they could go spend time to pour back into their selves. And then the next weekend, I had a Saturday where I could pour back into myself. And so even though you're raising these children and being a mother, make sure you take time to have that connection with the other adult in your house, the other parent, so that y'all can be on the same page with parenting. And it will help make you a better mother, because we know mothers run the world. So since we're running it, let's make sure everybody's on board for what we're doing and that we're communicating to everyone and making sure that our household runs smoothly.
Absolutely. When we come back after the break, I want to talk about a few things biblical, because it says, there are a lot of things in scripture, that really get us going. And a lot of it has to deal with how we were raised, what we know about scripture, how we approach and engage other people, because mothering and parenting is also about stewardship. And so when people do too much, then different things can happen. We're going to unpack that when we're back after the break.
We begin tonight with the people who are really running the country right now.
Now, Trump is often wrong and misleading about a lot of things, but especially about history. Donald Trump falling in line with President Elon Musk.
In the wake of the unsettling news that MSNBC has canceled Joy Ann Reid's primetime show, The Readout, Roland Martin and the Black Star Network would like to extend an invitation to all of the fans of Joy Ann Reid's MSNBC show to join us every night to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network for news, discussion of the issues that matter to you, and the latest updates on the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump and his unprecedented assault on democracy, as well as co-president Elon Musk's takeover of the federal government. The Black Star Network stands with Joy Ann Reid and all folks who understand the power of Black voices in media. We must come together and never forget that information is power. Be sure to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered weeknights, 6 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Roland S. Martin or download the Black Star Network app.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And as we have been talking about this conversation on moms, mothering, and surrogate moms, aunts, aunties, there is this group of us, because I'm in the Auntie Zone, who literally take liberties. And I love that word. We will spoil a kid that is not our own. And grandmoms do the exact same thing. But there is the point where we can fall into the area of disrespect. Because I'm the auntie, I can do this. Because I'm the Mimi or the grandma or the grandma, I can do that. I want to talk about how we take power away from mom and dad when we overstep our boundary, being allowed to be in a child's space. Ladies, let's talk about that for a moment, because I have to tell you, I am the ultimate spoiler. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and they will attest to the fact that, well, auntie said and auntie sent, well, I'm just going to call auntie. And that is just how it goes. And I know I probably put a lot of pressure, on family members and other friends, and I do that with their kids as well. But both of you sit in that seat as auntie and Mimi. And from a faith perspective, how does stewardship play a part in not, making that child just terrible for their parents? I think that's the best way to say it. How do we not, spoil the child to the point that they're just disobedient?
That's really interesting, because as a grandparent, it is so easy to say, you know what? You can do whatever you want over here, because I'm going to send you right back to your parents. And even with my friends' kids, you have to be conscious and respectful of how the parent is raising that child. It really is imperative, because you don't want to enter into conflict where the child feels that they can play both ends against the other, because that happens even with parents as well as aunties and uncles and grandparents. And children are smart. They know how to work the experience to get what they want out of it. Even with my own son, he knew how to play both ends against the middle. And what I mean by that, he knew how to come to me and ask for something that he knew he couldn't ask for from his dad, or he knew how to ask his aunts for something that he knew we would not agree to. So we all had to get on the same page. Eventually, it worked for him a few times until we all caught on. And you have to do what's best for the child. I remember hearing Katrina talk about the fact that parents are responsible for how they raise their children. And we have to maintain that responsibility even when it doesn't always feel good for us to have to limit them or set boundaries for them. But those things are abundantly important to help children understand. And I think it's a problem that we deal with now, helping children to understand that they will not always get their way. So those are some of the things. Again, it goes back to the communication and understanding what's important for the family.
Absolutely. Reverend Katrina Smith, I know she's about to go biblical. When I asked the question, I saw that whole face.
No, I'm not gonna go there, because having children is a gift, having grandchildren is a bonus, right? And so we go back to that word communication. Communicating with the parents, right? What are your expectations? What are the rules at your house? And then having that boundary, okay, those are the rules at your house. When they come here, it is about experience. And so I like the boundaries at my house to be different. But my children and I have that conversation ahead of time. Now, of course, Mimi sometimes strays from the boundaries, but I never do it to complicate the situation. I am to reinforce what the parents have established. Them at their house, it's during the week, they have school. When they come to Granny's house or Mimi's house, we're not going to school. But I want to support the parents to say, hey, this is their vacation. Can they stay up late at my house? Because we're going to do some things. When we talk about, the biblical sense, the word says train up a child. All right. If we go to that scripture, train up a child. If you train your child, you don't have to worry. Because when you get grandchildren, your child has already had the training that you have provided them. And so when you get that beautiful grandchild, they're instilling values that you have already instilled. And so you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor. I get to witness it on a daily basis because I trained my children when they were little. And so I get to see me in my children. And my children remind me that sometimes they hear a little voice that says, Mom wouldn't be letting us do that. No, we better not. Mom would say. Those are some of the things that you impart to your children. And so then when I get those bonus children, those grandchildren, I don't have to do as much because I've already instilled those values because I trained my children up. So the word is very clear about that. You, as a mother, need to do your part, and you will reap the fruits of your labor, and you will be able to be that fantastic auntie, that Grammy, the grandma, the Mimi, and the grandma.
So I have a faith-based question for both of you, in a sense that, children obey your parents in the Lord, for it is right. While at the same time, I watch parents say the craziest things to their children or their grandchildren in the grocery store or in the mall or at the playground, and how they handle physically their kids. This is not really good stewardship. So how do you expect a child, or how should we expect a child, just because the Bible says children obey your parents in the Lord, for it is right, if the parent themselves is mismanaging and inappropriately handling their child? What are some tips or avenues that can be pursued to help parents get their children on the right path?
So it's really interesting because growing up, my aunt, again, I was raised in her household. We look back and we joke about her abusive language to us. Like when we were out of line, one of the things she would say when she was really upset was, I'm going to put my foot on your neck. Like, what? You got to do what? And we joke about it now, and we hope that she wouldn't follow through on the threat. But the threat for us at that time was real. And I don't know that not that people would say those kinds of things to their children, but that they would have such a respect and a godly kind of fear of their parents for what they would do wrong, that it would keep them within the boundaries that were set for the family and for each child. But we all know kids are going to be kids. And so we have to manage being angry about that and what they do in the moment against how do I really want to handle this so this is a lesson learned and not just me going off the handle because I'm upset about what my child is doing. And so those are things that parents have to balance for themselves and for their children often. One of the things I remember with my bonus kids is that I thought that by the time they turned 14, 15, they were going to lose their mind because they had been really good kids, very well mannered. I didn't have any problems with them growing up. I mean, you have the basic general discipline. And in doing that, I'm not the person who raises my voice. And so I want to make sure that you understood. And sometimes there's a look that helps you to understand. And there's a tone that helps them to understand. And so those were things that I used, but they understood their boundary and what was right and what was wrong. And I never crossed the line in showing them anything different in my own behavior. And I think that's important as well. They knew that they were loved and even respected in the household. So when they showed out in public, there were times when I would give them that look and say, now, if you show out here, I'm going to show out with you. But I'd take them to the bathroom. I wouldn't, spank them in public. Now, my son knew if it was going to come, he was going to get it. If he saw we saw someone acting up in the store, I would say, what would happen to you if you did that? And he would follow back with, you beat me. That boy ain't never been beat, but he understood. So again, parents have to be the example for their children, even in how you discipline.
I love that. We're going to jump on into a break. And when we're back, I want to continue this conversation with Katrina. We'll be back in a moment after the break.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
Welcome back, everybody. And as you can tell, we've talked about a few things related to parenting and good stewardship and what it looks like to not only help you as a parent keep your wits about you, but also how to help your children and those you love stay in line. Katrina, she talked about the look. And I think we've all been on the other end of the look. And oddly enough, even as adults, we give other adults the look. Because it's not something that can escape you because you know what it means when you're not falling in line or doing what is expected. So talk to us, Katrina, a little bit about that and being able to help parents in their stewardship ability as it relates to managing the home and the child.
So the look works. It works to this day, and I have adult children. It works on the grandchildren. So if you haven't mastered it, you need to start looking in the mirror and use it effectively. Sometimes words are not necessary. It is enough to just look. When we talk about, Deborah pointed out about tone. The tone is so important. You can do a lot with a tone. I always tell kids, because kids nowadays, they have a different way of communicating. And I say, I match energy. I match energy. So you have to have that, and you have to be able to code switch with children nowadays. They got to know you're not playing. Some of the things though, as a mother, you need a good girlfriend, a good group of girlfriends that can check you sometimes. That can pull your coattail and say, you're going a little to the left. Maybe you need to sit down and think about it. Maybe you need to process how you are speaking to your child. You need someone in your corner that says, hey, I know you had a rough week and I saw you getting ready to go there. Maybe you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Maybe you need to take a breath before you speak to your child. Once again, nobody but your child can test your inner gangster. They will test you at the worst time in public. They will do anything. But you have to use the fruits of the Spirit and show that peace and patience. And you have to pull it together and know when to respond and when not to respond. But having a good group of friends or a girlfriend that you can sit down and have honest conversations with, like, I'm seeing my child. Let me just help some parent today. You're a good parent. You're doing all the things. You're communicating with your child. You're trying to do one-on-one activities. You're open to conversation. And your child is hitting puberty. And you believe your child has lost their mind. Let me remind you, you were a child and you were a teenager. And your mother probably thought you lost your mind too. Don't worry, they'll come to their senses when they turn 18. As a parent, as a mother, there is no handbook. There are a lot of books you could buy on the shelf, but children don't come with a manual. Some of this will be trial and error. Some of this is based on you and your faith walk with God and being able to hear from Him and how to handle different situations. Don't ever give up. Don't get downtrodden. It will get better. Lift your head up. Keep praying over your child. Keep speaking positivity over your child. Use daily affirmations. My child will be great. My child will walk upright and speak with power. My child will have a relationship with God. My child will be profitable. My child will go and be blessed. He will or she will be a blessing to someone else. Speak the positivity over your child every day and see what God will do.
Amen to that. You know, I want, for those of you who are watching, those exact same, press rewind, those exact same words that Katrina just spoke, I want you to say those things over your mother or your mother figure as well, because we recognize that not all children are being raised in homes where godliness exists. And so if you're praying for your mom, you want God to do something in her life, you need her to straighten up her act and get it together. She needs a job, whatever the case may be. It works. That's why it's called family, a sense of community, and all of those things that go on in each of our lives. Ladies, when we think about everything that is happening and going on, if you had to take a page from your mama's book, your grandmother's book, your auntie mom's book, your cousin mama book, your church mama book, what would you select if you had to take a page from and share with our audience that page that you're taking and that wisdom that comes along with it? I know you're going to think about it for a second. So I'm going to take a page from a lady who I loved as a kid. And literally when I was in the 7th grade, you can read about her on my Facebook page, but Miss Alice Kinney in my 7th grade year grabbed me out the hall one day and she's like, "You not running around with them girls?" And I was like, "Ma'am?" I went and started working in the office, and that lady taught me everything I know today about peopling, how to read people, how to talk to people, how to handle people, how to manage people, how to walk away from people, how to talk to parents and adults. And I say that to say that if I'm taking a page, that is the page that I took when I left 9th grade middle school with me the rest of my life, was be available, but also be a little unavailable, because you can't overextend yourself in things, but also be open to listen and be open to instruction. So Miss Alice Kinney, who this weekend just turned 100 years old, I salute you, ma'am, for me being able to take a page from your playbook on how to balance life and living as a mom, as a mother figure, and all of those things. I appreciate you. Katrina or Deborah, who wants to go next?
Okay, I'll go next. So I remember two things my aunt used to always say. Well, there were three. One was Rome was not built in a day. And that statement always brings me back to balance, that I don't have to do. I'm an A-type personality. I go, 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 go. I want to get it done, get it done, get it done. I want to check it off the list. But to hear that voice in my ear, Rome was not built in a day. That was one of the things he said. The other thing was allow people to be who they are. You cannot change anybody. And that has been the best advice for me, to sit back and allow people to be who they are, because when you do, then you can easily find how you fit into their life or not. And so those two things, those two pieces of advice. The third was, girl, pick your feet up. Walk like you're going somewhere. Stop dragging your feet. And so those three things have been with me and reminded me to be that woman that she had invested so much in, even today.
Absolutely. Katrina.
So I guess I take it out my mother and grandmother's playbook. You can't expect yourself in others. I was raised by a single parent, and I learned early on that how people perceive people. My mother was a hard worker. She would give her last dime to anybody. And I kept thinking, but it's just us. You ain't got that much money. Hold up now. And it didn't matter. She gave and she gave. And so I learned about servant leadership, watching my mother and my grandmother serve and give. And so that is what I take with me as I go daily. It's about being service oriented. I also learned every day you get up and you check your pocketbook, and your pocketbook must match your clothes. That's one thing they did not play with. Your pocketbook must match your clothes. You don't go anywhere. You don't go to the mailbox. It's going to bless somebody. You don't go anywhere looking any kind of way. You get up and you dress for yourself, not for anybody else. So I take that daily with me.
I love these sentiments that we are sharing today as we jump into May and celebrate all things related to moms and mother figures. When we come back after the break, I'll give my reflection.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Welcome back, everyone. And as you can tell, what a day of listening, learning, and receiving all of the wisdom that we have gathered over the years of our young lives, of the women in our lives who have played a vital role in who we are. As you celebrate this month, because like a birthday, we take the whole month. So we do that with our moms, our mother figures. So whether you're a mom, a mother, an auntie, a grandma, a mimi, a grandma, a granny, we are here to celebrate you and thank you for the wisdom that you share. Bye now and have a great month.